Shalom, welcome to our daily class in Hasidut and Kabbalah from Eretz Israel. My name is Avraham Shira, and it is Erev Shabbat, and time to talk a little bit about the depth and the timelessness of Shabbat and how that connects to the timelessness of God. Human beings live in time and space, and so it is very hard for us to imagine above time and above space. But in truth, our souls are drawn from there. The human soul is not bound to time and space. The human soul is from above time and space, but we are sent down in this world to perform a mission, each person according to his skills, his talents, his background, his genetics, his heart, his soul, his investments in himself and in God. And so we are not really from here. We are from a timeless realm. But we find ourselves here, and what are we going to do about it? Well, we're going to try to lift it up. So how do we do that is through a relationship to Shabbat, we connect to the timeless. It is one of the ways. The Torah is also timeless. Eretz Israel is also part of that timelessness. But listen to the Baal Shem Tov. He brings to us a piece of famous Zohar. He says that the Raza de Shabbat techadat b'Raza de Echad. The secret of Shabbat is that the Shabbat, as it's unified in the secret of oneness. When we talk about the idea of oneness, we talk about Shabbat, there's this link the Zohar is pointing at. Because God's throne is also attached to the idea of oneness. Now, the throne, of course, is a metaphor for something very high and lofty that we approach once in a while if we're lucky enough to have a relationship to the king. But the throne is also the place we are told that the souls are drawn from. It's in the world of Bria, which is the third world from this world, and it is a place of pure thought. No vessels except thought itself. The second level, Yetzirah, is the world of pure emotion. And we are in the world of action. So when you strip away action, what's left? Emotion and thought. You strip away emotion, you have thought. Strip away thought, what do you have? Nothingness? No, actually what you have are the vessels, the qualities, the powers that create thought. And those are called the traits of God. In Kabbalah, they're called sphirot. But they literally create consciousness through the various gradations of the eternal light. Now, so the human beings, all human beings together in a collective are called the throne of God because God sits on us, if you will. I don't know, it doesn't sound too pleasant, right? But that's what a king does. He sits on his throne, and the king sits on us. Right, of course, God calls us his throne, and the heaven is his throne, and then the creations, there are billions of creations in their external aspect. But in the eternal aspect, we're one. In other words, I'm sitting here talking to you, and your family is here, there, and everywhere, and your friends. We're all scattered all about the human race. But if we leave our physicality, we're going to find out very quickly that our soul is one collective soul that's split into billions of little pieces. Now, that might be hard to imagine. But if you think about it all, and this is part of the wonder of learning Kabbalah, is that as you put together the pieces, you discover that these fantastic mystical ideals are actually very logical and practical. And if you wanted to create a world, you would probably do it the same way. You wanted to create a world that had 7 billion souls, and you wanted to have a connection to each of them, it'd be much, much easier to create them from one substance, and then they get scattered about in different bodies. So in our Panimiut, the human race is a unified realm. And when are they one? And when are they really one together? when they are drawn with the same intention together to be attached to God. Now, when I want to be attached to the stock market and you want to be attached to the NBA and this one wants to be attached to the fashion scene in Paris and everybody wants to be attached somewhere else, because that's what our mind is, an attachment tool. Okay? We use our minds to attach ourselves to ideas. And all those different ideas, they create separations among people. However, when we all attach to the one, we're unified. So it's not as fantastic as it sounds. It just means we're all thinking the same thing at the same time. We're unified to the same idea. That there's one God, and He's the real power, and He's the one we need to serve, and He's the one we need to have a little bit of awe of, and not of doctors, and not of scientists, and not of viruses, and nothing deserves human awe except the Creator. And of course, there are people because they reflect that light into this world. When everybody's desires to detach to the one, as we said, this attachment, and what this does, this sanctifies God when we're unified. All right? That we all live according to this one source of power. That I'm not getting my power from my own place, and you're not getting your power from your own place. We're all getting the power from the same place. Shabbat Brit Olam, and now we bring in Shabbat. Shabbat itself is called an eternal covenant. What is a covenant? It's an agreement. But here, it's this agreement to have an agreement. Once we all agree to have an agreement, we're getting close. Getting close together, we say, we got to agree on something. Let's agree on Shabbat. Let's agree on one day of the week that we don't work and we do the things that we enjoy most, which is to be with our families, our beloved ones, and learn and pray and eat and drink and dance and sing. What else do you need? And so when we have that covenant with God about Shabbat, we all become part of the oneness. And our oneness is revealed by the unity of our thought. And then we unify the Creator with His indwelling presence down here. The Creator, the source of all reality, consider it like light years away from this place. But He has an indwelling presence we call His bride, His queen, His princess. The Shekhinah, which literally means the one that dwells here on us. Now, God and His Shekhinah have been separated because of the exile, because of our sins, because of all many types of things that happen. But our job is to bring them back together. Okay? Now that unification process is happening on a global scale through the human race, because He's dwelling on all of us. So the Shekhinah is the revelation that we've made this covenant together. And He tells us an interesting detail here, that the Elohut ne'elam me'abru'im, that His godliness is hidden from us. Okay, that's not hard to get an idea of. Shechintehu Elohut shochem betachtonim. But he repeats more or less what I just said, that the Shekhinah is the godliness that we can experience down here. But the union takes place on Shabbat. That the divine presence that dwells down here, that shines on certain people at certain times and certain places, that on Shabbat is all unified with the hidden holiness that is so far away. We need a super high-powered psychic telescope to see it. And if you saw it well enough, you'd join it. You'd be gone. Because it'll pull you back into your root of your soul. So we want to be here. This is the place of the work. Up there's that's like the spectators are in heaven. They're watching what we're doing down here. Because we're carrying his name, His reputation is on the human race, and especially the Jewish people. to succeed, to prove and to unify and to elevate this creation. וכבר ידעת שתמיד כמו שהיה פעם ראשון, כך מתעורר באותו זמן תמיד. And so this is a very important idea, that this arousal that takes place on Shabbat between the hidden Kedusha and the revealed holiness, right, the two types of holiness, that the part that's way above humanity and the part that's dwelling right here with us, when that's revealed, there's this great light is revealed in the world, but it's Tamid Kamo Shaya Pam Rishona. It's always like it was in the beginning. What is this telling us? Especially, he says, B'yom Shabbat Mukhrach Liot Ken Tamid. It's absolutely defined. Shabbat is the time where that revelation of that union takes place. Okay, understand that this Shabbat is not the end of this week or the beginning of next week. In truth, this Shabbat is drawn from the beginning of time, from the first Shabbat, and it's extracted from there all the way to now. And then next week's Shabbat, the same thing. And every Shabbat from the beginning of time has been an extraction of that beginning of time. Why? Because Shabbat is above time, so it has nothing to do with the 6 days of the week. It's a timeless time, oh, sorry about that, that is drawn from the original timelessness. Right? And His goodness, He renews every day, always, the workings of creation. Every moment, God is starting the car of creation. You get in your car, you turn the key, vroom, the engine lights up. Well, God is doing that to creation all the time, every moment of the day. He's starting. The creation is constantly pulsing those first moments of creation into existence. And Shabbat is included in that time. And every day creates a new day. And He creates these days from the four major realms that we call the speaking realm, which is the human realm, the Chai, which is the animal world, the animal kingdom, the Tzomeach, which is the plant kingdom, and the mineral kingdom. These four kingdoms are going into the creation of every day. Ad bo Yom HaShabbat, until Shabbat. And then God says, okay, we've used all these tools to create for 6 days. Now we're going to take a step back and a step up. And we're going to look at our creation and look at our week and thank God for the things that happened to us on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. And pull the weekdays into the Shabbat. This is outrageous. That God is aroused when we keep Shabbat to give us new life force like He gave from the beginning of time. And understand, your life force is not coming from your breakfast or the fact that you slept well. Your experience of the life force is a little better if you have a nice breakfast or you have a nice sleep. Your experience of it. But the life force itself is not coming from there. It's coming from the root of creation, because every moment it's creating new again. And so you're tapping into the beginning of Maseh Bereshit over and over. We just don't see it because our rhythm is a little bit off, from God's rhythm. So we got to learn that dance. We got to get that rhythm that God has with creation, because He's constantly pulsing new life force in. And when you know that, well, you don't have to turn to coffee as often. And you don't have to turn to all kinds of external substances to feel alive, to feel new, to feel expanded, to feel love, to feel desire. All those qualities are the ones He gives us. We just need to attach to Him, and automatically we get the download. And on Shabbat, when we keep the Shabbat as best as we can, each person at their level. Don't worry about how your neighbor keeps Shabbat or your grandpa. You keep Shabbat as best as you can. If it's one mitzvah on Shabbat, do that one. But by doing so, you arouse God to give you life force from the beginning of time. And then you taste the timelessness, even in this world that is completely buried, in our wristwatches. So I want to bless everyone to have a little moment of that timelessness this week on Shabbat, and that we should come back strong and new and renewed. Motzi Shabbat, ready to start a new week, to dive down into this world and to pick up what we need to pick up and fix what we need to fix, and to unify what we can unify and what we are designed to elevate to Hashem. Because we get elevated by elevating other things. It's a symbiotic relationship. Okay? So when you make the Kiddush, you're elevating the wine, but ultimately that will elevate you as well. And so too with all the mitzvot. So God bless all of you. We'll look for you again next week on all the platforms. Shabbat Shalom.